To the April 13th meeting of the New Bern Board of Aldermen. The prayer tonight will be given by Alderman Best.
Good evening. Can we all please take a moment for prayer? Heavenly Father, I come to you once again asking you for guidance, asking you for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And I ask that you, Lord, touch each mind and heart of each board member here, so that when we conduct the business of this city, that we will keep an open mind and realize that the decisions we make for this city will affect all citizens. Amen.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Bingle. Alderwoman Harris. Alderman Astor. Mayor Outlaw. Alderman Kinsey. Alderman Best. Alderman Odom.
Here.
Are there any requests, petitions of citizens? Okay, let's go to the consent agenda. Motion and second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same. The motion carries. Mr. Stevens, item number 8.
Is a presentation on the Volt Center. Tonight we have with us Dr. Ray Statz, who is our humble host that is here to allow us to facilitate our meetings, but he's also here on business tonight. So he's here to present to you an update on the Volt Center and some potential uses that we have identified with the Volt Center and the Volt campus. So he's going to go over those, and he's going to open it up for any kind of questions that the board may have.
I didn't get it in my agenda.
I don't think it's been shared with the board. I think he's going to present that tonight, though. Yeah, but I mean, I can make a copy of the one that you have if you...
Paper.
You're going to be working off that paper?
Okay. We do not have a slide presentation, though, tonight.
Sure. Why don't I go I'll get somebody to get some copies of these, and then I'll hand those out to the board.
And I'll walk you through most everything that's in that. Well, good evening. I'm not sure whether I should consider myself to have home field advantage. I'm reminded of my alma mater back in the early 80s when they were, Syracuse, when they were rebuilding their stadium, and they played at Rutgers Stadium. And one of the games was against Rutgers, and they were the home team, but playing on their field, so I'm not sure which way that goes. I have with me Gary Boucher, and he's also going to help out speaking about the Volt Center and what we're planning to do, or hope to do, what we've already done with the Volt Center. And I'd like to kind of start with that by giving you a quick review of our partnership to date. And you should know, I hope that all of you are very, very proud of the work that you've done on behalf of the city and our community. We are a statewide and quickly becoming a regional model for what can be done when municipalities and governments and a college all work together with one goal in mind, and that's jobs for our community. It has been a huge success. The trades building, as I now refer to it, you're going to hear me alternate between the Volt Center and the Volt campus, because the original vision of the Volt Center was a single building. It is now effectively a campus. And so we've kind of informally renamed that first building the Trades Building, just because that's what's done in there. But of course, it is the Volt Center. We opened that 7,500 square foot facility just under 10 years ago. And so we're 2 years into that 10-year lease. We started with 5 programs: construction, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and small engine repair. But since then, we have added forklift operator, solar voltaic repair, tools for advanced manufacturing, human resources development, and just recently we started masonry in that building and some of the spare space that we have. I think some big news that I need to pass along to you is that we have a total of 1,040 completers that have passed through the doors of that building in the last 2 years. A couple months ago, we did a bit of a survey to see where they were all coming from, and this is back when that total was 1,015. 639 of those students had New Bern addresses, and 205, or 20.2%, resided in the Trent Court, Pembroke, 5 Points, or Oaks Road neighborhood, walking distance. Our primary targeted audience, 1 out of every 5 students are coming out of those communities. And as of last month, we confirmed our 201st confirmed job offer coming directly out of that building. That's 201 New Bernians that have jobs that might not have had jobs without that building. When we were planning this building, we estimated that the full capacity of that building would yield 111 full-time equivalents of instruction in a good year. Despite COVID, with reduced class sizes and reduced in-person learning opportunities, this year's total will be 116. We are at full capacity already. That building is a phenomenal success, and a great deal of credit and thank you go to all of you who helped make that happen, both with your voices and with your finances. The Small Business Center became the second building we opened on that campus last August, and we've added welding capacity on that site to augment the lack of capacity we've been able to fill here on the New Bern and the Havelock campuses. Welding continues to be an industry that has a demand that is far stripping anyone's capacity. And we also cited the Small Business Center primarily, I say also, well, primarily because we recognize that in the entry-level trades, many of those individuals will spend a few years working in the trade and then will branch out to start their own businesses, plumbing, HVAC, construction, and so forth. They will come back to a familiar place to learn how to convert their skills into their own businesses. And so we thought that was a wonderful synergy for the college. In January, we opened our third facility. Many thanks to Matt Montaigne, and I know we will be saying goodbye to Matt, but Matt's genius and Mark's genius found a way to take that facility and convert it from an old garage into a state-of-the-art diesel repair garage that we now are running day and night classes for a badly needed diesel repair and heavy equipment operator industry. And last month, with great fanfare, we did the ribbon cutting on our fourth facility on that campus, the law enforcement training facility. And I just managed to introduce myself to our brand new police chief and let him know that his folks are already enjoying high quality, high fidelity simulation of that building, along with the Craven County Sheriff's Department. So we are very proud of what's been accomplished on that site. Every community college in the region that is adjacent to us, save Pamlico, has toured that facility. And I was very proud to tell the president of James Sprunt that entire facility from the college's perspective required almost no capital investment from the college's perspective. That is the bane of community college life. We can provide equipment, we can provide curriculum, we can provide instructors, we bring students, but building buildings is very tough. And when you look at the cost of the college for construction, which was borne almost entirely by our partners and grantors, that is an amazing story to be able to tell our friends and neighbors across the region. So tonight I want to talk to you about a proposal for what I hope will be the next phase for the Volt campus. And I think this is another opportunity for a win-win partnership that helps achieve some of the goals that you originally set out for that facility 4 years ago when we first got the grant, as well as our goals to provide opportunities for jobs for folks in the community. 2 years ago, in July of 2019, the college met with owners of 6 restaurants to discuss their training challenges. And we had a very hearty discussion that day to talk about that. But the conversation kind of stalled when the college indicated that we did not have the facilities available to do the things that they needed us to do. I'm pleased to report that the New Bern Chamber of Commerce next week is reconvening that group with a few new entries to talk about the next phase in this issue, which has now been exacerbated by the COVID virus. I think I have a restaurateur here. Entry-level workforce in the restaurant and hospitality industry has reached critical mass. You may have seen national news articles about what is happening in Craven or in Carteret County, adjacent to us. But a similar situation is happening with us. We need to train restaurant operators, not chefs, line cooks, food prep, hospitality workers, counter staff, wait staff, and a variety of folks that take place in a very tourist-oriented industry that we have here. So our first priority at the college will be to introduce programs specifically that are serving restaurant operators. We already run the Serve Safe program 5 times a year. It's an 8-hour course, but our capacity is very limited, again, because we do not have practical lab areas to conduct that in. We also would like to begin an AHLEI Institute, which is the American Hotel and Lodging Education Institute certifications, to teach restaurant service, guest room attendance, and a variety of day and evening courses. And our first courses we intend to be 36-hour courses. We believe once we have modified our curriculum to meet local needs, that we will be the engine that will prepare restaurant workers to enter the workforce. We've tried this model before. Last year, we saw that our industry in manufacturing was desperately looking for entry-level workers, and we created a 3-day course that has now produced well over 100 workers for Moen, Bosch, Chatsworth, Dronkenstein, and other industries. That is called our Tools for Advanced Manufacturing course, and we believe we can replicate that model in a commercial kitchen for our local restaurants. Our next priority will be a variety of programs that use the restaurant and hospitality environment as a training vehicle. And I can remember this myself. My first job at the age of 16 was in a restaurant called Friendly Ice Cream. It doesn't really exist anymore. But I learned very quickly at that age that the things you learn in a restaurant, even as a youth, are things like attention to detail, safety, customer service, cost and inventory control, and a host of other things. The other neat thing, I didn't think so at the time, that you learn in restaurants is you get instant feedback on your job performance. So it's an excellent training tool. When you cook food or serve well, you see that food. You see your customers enjoy it. And when you do it poorly, you have a hostile customer on your hands. And so it teaches you how to deal with the public in a very real and quickly evolving circumstance. So some of the courses we wish to run, we already have a Transitions Academy. This is for developmentally impaired individuals, and we wish to add a hospitality pathway. Again, my experience at Friendly Ice Cream for many years ago, we actually did this. We brought in individuals who worked with a coach and learned the restaurant industry under supervision and helped them to become productive citizens in an environment that they could operate in. We currently have classes that run 3 days a week from 9 to 3, and in this pathway we envision 8 to 10 students on average and up to 15 students during the day utilizing a commercial kitchen. We also believe that a hospitality pathway will be an effective tool for English as a second language. That environment is excellent for teaching communicative skills to individuals who do not speak English as their first language. And we envision night classes from 6 to 9, 2 nights a week, and a potential for a day class as well. We also have adult education for folks that are finishing their GED and need basic skills, also in human resources development to teach them basic skills in becoming general employees that might be transferable to virtually any industry. And again, the restaurant environment is an exceptional teaching tool to bring those skills. Finally, we have our adult enrichment program, which has been very limited by our lack of cooking facilities. One of our most demanding or most popular adult enrichment programs every winter is our gingerbread instruction classes for gingerbread houses, and we have never seen that reach its fruition because of the lack of a cooking facility. And as many of you know, many personal interest courses begin with cooking and food preparation, particularly during the holiday seasons. So we envision in a very short period of time the kitchen becoming a centerpiece for the Volt campus and very heavily used. Now the college is in a great position where equipment is concerned. We do have a healthy state equipment budget that we envision will be able to readily bring into $150,000 to $200,000 of equipment investment. The only limitation we have at this point is we're near the end of a fiscal year. For things that we order that can't arrive by June 30th, we have to wait and order on July 1st. And that's just the nature of the beast. But within a few months, we, from reaching an agreement on this facility, we could be in full operation. And with that, I'm very happy to answer questions that you may have to help you in your deliberations.
Out of the 5 programs, you said it was 200 that actually is at work now. Is it that they graduate from the program and receive a certificate that gives them the ability to go to be hired?
Mm-hmm. No, that 201 are people that had a job offer in hand before they left us. We unfortunately don't have the ability to track students after they leave us, but one of the things we realized as we worked with our industry partners is they had a desire to interview our best students while they were still with us before we lost them or they lost a chance to grab them. And that's been particularly true with the Tools for Advanced Manufacturing course. And so what is happening is usually the last 1 or 2 days before graduation from that course is we actually have HR managers from the various companies are coming in and interviewing and proffering offers right there on the spot. And so that is that 201. Those are the individuals that had a job offer in hand before they left us. I am most certain there are many, many more that got job offers sometime after they left us. And we also know that a good portion of those returned to the college and took subsequent courses, some of them going on to degree programs.
Very good.
One other thing that I will add, and Dr. Stats has covered basically the community college and their existence and the participation of this is the Volt Center. If you recall, the original proposal for this project was funded significantly by EDA. And the EDA had a very, when we submitted that program, we had a very specific, mission to create the Volt campus, to have the commercial commissary kitchen, and to also have the other buildings facilitated in construction to help, which ultimately turned into Small Business Center and the incubator. And Dr. Stat, this is hot off the press because the lady called me just before this meeting, but they have, I submitted and requested her to consider the Craven Community College's proposal if this would be in keeping or allowed under the EDA program to provide this type of opportunity for citizens considering this change of scope. And she was happy to inform me today that I guess verbally, they are okaying us moving forward with this project as a change of scope. They will ultimately want to see the final details in the lease, which ultimately we work through every single time regardless, to finalize the community college's existence into another program or into another one of the facilities on the campus. So considering that this is kind of a change in scope of what the original EDA is, I reached out to Ms. Sherman with the EDA to ask her if they would consider this, and they have. She spoke with the legal crews there with the EDA, and they have given us a verbal commitment that they would be okay with this. We would just need to finalize some certain details. So with that being said, this would be a change in scope or a change in direction from where staff have originally been working, but obviously we have not found a tenant or a function for the commissary kitchen to date. So this would be an opportunity to where we can further expand our offerings with community college on the campus and still meet the conditions of what the EDA requires that would not put us outside of their requirements and potentially risk the funding or actually us having to pay back some of the funding. So we wanted to confirm all of that. So it sounds like we're good to go with the EDA. So now it's up to the board to give us direction as to whether or not you wish us to pursue this further with the community college as a partnership, or if we continue down the path that we've been going. So.
Two questions. One for you, Mark. I don't know what's going on with the mic. Was there a meeting prior to this where there was a discussion on changing the vision for that location? Because last I knew, Development Services and everybody were meeting to kind of create the whole city market, having that ability for entrepreneurs. I love the college. I love all of the trade, but also I feel like the city has a responsibility to create a pathway for entrepreneurship. There's individuals that choose not to go to school. There's individuals that may not want to get a trade, but there's individuals that have an idea where they want to be able to pursue that, and to have the resources to do that is a benefit to the community. Residents have reached out to me in regards to food trucks, having a location. I know that we have spots there to be able to, host food trucks maybe every weekend. I'm just trying to think about the entrepreneur side of these communities as well in regards to this location, because I know that there was a plan, there was a vision, and I'm just trying to see when that changed on that marketplace and having a location where people that create and need to sell things have a space outside of the farmer's market, because we know that they're limited and they're limited on what could be sold. So that's just my thoughts to the board. My question was to you did you get guidance from somewhere in regards to?
We haven't really specifically received any guidance. That's what I'm here for tonight, to receive guidance as to the direction you want to go. What I do recognize is we have a facility that is now, I guess, at least 2 years or more since we have completed the work, that has yet to receive any funding for the upfit of the kitchen, has yet to have a single food truck serve, which was part of the original grant, but we have now had damages from a hurricane, we've had COVID-related impacts, and we have struggling restaurants and businesses within our community as a result of COVID. So Dr. Stats and I have had some discussions. I know he's had some meetings, and this was an opportunity to where I wanted to bring this before. He has a use for it. We have a commercial. He has the ability to fund, to put in the equipment, which was always a large capital expense. So they have the equipment that they could potentially get funding for. As he said, he's got the ability to put in the instructors. He's got the ability to provide the programs, the marketing of those programs, and also to provide the equipment necessary to run the programs and the facilitators. The issue that we have, or that they have always had, is the capital improvement as far as the facilities. That's the reason why I'm here tonight, to ask the board if they wish to change the direction and the scope of what they want to do to further these things. Otherwise, we'll continue down the path. I can't guarantee you. I know that Miss Amanda Olin-Salin has been working hard. She's here tonight if you want to ask her any questions, to try to find somebody that would be willing to partner with us in many different ways to make this commissary kitchen work. It's just, it hasn't come to fruition.
Aspect of it from when, I mean, we wrote a grant, the tobacco grant, and I know that there was controversy with that, but at the end of the day, we have to figure it out and work it out, because we have entrepreneurs that we need to create resources for. And if the community knew that we would be able to have food trucks there, we would have had that. I mean, there's nonprofits. You have Young Urban Professionals. You have the professionals of Craven County, where we have individuals that need an outlet to be able to sell their goods, to be able to understand how to operate a business, to get that education in regards to that. So there's things that can be done, but I think because of the controversy of what happened last year, there was a hold on it. But if we can bring that back to the table, we can bring people to the table that can partnership and get this done, because we need a city market. We need a place for entrepreneurship. I understand trade, but there's all sectors. I understand that we have the hospitality, but also entrepreneurs have suffered from COVID-related expenses, and we need to be able to help them as well. So I'm just trying to understand. I don't know if Jeff can come to the table, or Amanda, to give an update on what happened, what was the standstill in regards to moving forward, because we had a grant, we lost it, but we can apply for more grants.
Grant, and that's what happened, because I was also really excited about the farmer's market. I think that's a great location, it's a great spot. It serves the inner city of some of our challenged neighborhoods and people, and I think it would be ideal to have the farmer's market there, the Catalyst Kitchen, all of that, the maker space. Exactly. So I don't know what happened down the line that programs, all those programs just faded out, or, yeah, so
I don't know if we've kept in communication, but that's going on Broad Street. So I don't know if that's a partnership with Corey.
Check with Lynn Herrikel, and at this point,
I don't think that it's no longer with Swiss Bear. That's why I think we need to follow up with.
the original planning money was,
Yeah,
only
I
a
think-
portion of that had been spent, not all of it. I still think there's some monies in there. I did check with her, but just a couple of comments, because I was going to ask Dr. Stats about this too. I wanted to make sure first that the city would have no money in this, so you have the funds to fully fund putting a kitchen in there, so we would not have to expend funds.
We have the ability to equip the kitchen.
Yeah, we've
Yes.
been looking for a couple of years, and I understand the entrepreneurs, the small business center is there right now, and the small business center, as you well know, is an awesome tool for entrepreneurs, has resources and things, so that's already in place there. As far as the marketplace, I guess there's still space on the outside. Dr. Stats is just talking about the kitchen facility, and right now, this is an area where you can look and talk to anybody, not only in Craven County, you go to Onslow, Wilmington, Carteret. We cannot find skilled people to come to work. None of the restaurants can. Restaurants are having to close for, their schedules change and everything because we can't find workers. This same problem came about with manufacturing and HVAC and carpenters. The college stepped up in partnership with the city, the county, developed the Volt. These are courses that are 7 days, 2 weeks, some, short term, but they can get people up and into a job. 200 jobs we're seeing. The same thing would happen with money. Why would we not want to take this money that's in hand that we would not have to spend or wait for a grant or write a grant, let this kitchen go in there with a training center so we can train people? I did also talk to Smoke today. I need to get some more information on this, but he thinks that some of the rules for food trucks are changing as far as needing commissaries. So there's some evolving things because of COVID and what's happening. So these are other things we have to look in. I don't think they're dead issues, but what I think is important is that if we have the opportunity to continue to grow that Volt Center to the success that it already is, then we should do this for all training programs. I don't care what it is. If we can get people jobs, that's what we need to do. And I think that's important when we do have the resources to help entrepreneurs.
So there's no other location, though, because even though this may be a necessity, not everybody wants to work in hospitality.
Understood, but not everybody wants to be an
own-
electrician, not everybody wants
Right.
to be a carpenter, but the resources now are there for them to do that.
Right, so maybe there's another location we can find, because we have the SBA, yes, but we have to think of creative and progressive ways for entrepreneurship. Everybody doesn't want to go sit in a school and learn about it. They want to be hands-on. But
That's what this
we
would
also
be,
need maker
hands-on.
space.
That's why it's a kitchen.
Right.
They'll put in all the, the stoves, the ovens, the cooling, the washing that's necessary to train somebody in health standards, because if you are going to learn, and I think what he's saying here with this program is that it's also going to evolve for ESL, for English as a second language. You have disabled, mentally impaired, and other students that can work in this field, but they need to be trained. I see the possibilities widespread, but again, the whole vision of the Volt Center to me is jobs, 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 training to give a pathway for people. It might not be the end pathway, but it is opening the door, and I think that's what's important.
We also have to create opportunities as well, though. And outside of the job side of it, the opportunities I have to stand by as well, because I represent entrepreneurship. That's what my nonprofit stands for. And a lot of nonprofits around here, we want to support and we create a community within entrepreneurship, because like you own businesses. There's other
Absolutely.
people that aspire to do that, but if they don't have the knowledge, if they're not getting the understanding behind that outside of a brick and mortar of a college, because not everybody wants to come to college.
Agreed, but
Having these
how do you get it?
spaces
Let's
in
say,
this area, creating some sort of entrepreneur hub. We had one. I believe that I'm not sure if everybody that needed to be at the table to make it super successful was there, because it's no longer available, but it is needed, and it was needed in that community. Internet, having a place where you can, an internet cafe, even STEM programs for the children. Like, I feel like there's a wider opportunity to be able to be used here than to just
but
give
again, there's more
everything-
space out there than we're talking about a kitchen area. This area, one area. If you look at, I believe you included a picture of the campus in the back. How many, there's 10 buildings, 12 buildings, I don't know how you, 12 buildings there.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, many of them are taken up, but as you expand, this is money in hand now that they have an opportunity with a full-fledged program that's already designed where they can go to work. That's why I would support this, because they can go to work, they can do this. We still have the Small Business Center. I encourage you to continue to work with them. I know you have, in getting these young entrepreneurs with them and helping them to create these opportunities. An entrepreneur could be somebody that learns how to cook and next thing you know opens their own restaurant.
And that's what the Catalyst Kitchen that Corey Purdy and everybody was working on. And I don't understand why he's not at the table for this. And he's someone from that community.
Understood. And we had talked about that early on, and he was not at the table early on. We tried to put him at the table and others, and there was pushback because there was a different vision. Now we have the opportunity to have somebody who's got the money in hand, can go to work, can develop programs that can immediately get jobs, and I would like to see us go for this. I would be in full support of doing this.
Go ahead.
Feel that they're going to fall through the cracks right now?
Who?
With the program that's actually going on now, that the people that was going to come forward first, and then all of a sudden, downstream, the waves changed. Is that what
You
you're saying?
talking about the original plan?
Yes, ma'am.
My thing is, if we as a city represent the people and we represent opportunity and create jobs, I'm all for that. But when an individual or group of people or coalition come from that community, we had so many people at the table for that idea, even if the money is right there. Again, I am not against the community college. I have classes here. What I feel and my vision is even if the money is at the table, if we haven't had anything there for 2 years and it takes a little bit longer for us to bring everybody from the community to the table to find funding, to find partnerships, even if it is with the college, people that come from the community that had ideas about the Catalyst Kitchen or creating that atmosphere is going to be right on Broad Street. So that's now going to affect what this individual is trying to do if we create that same opportunity in the Volt Center when we need to partner with the community, because the community is what puts us in our seats. So it's just, I'm just speaking from that aspect, and I'm also thinking about entrepreneurship because that is important. We've seen, even with COVID, how businesses that went from brick and mortar had to be able to learn how to utilize the internet to still sell their products to survive. We have to teach that. We need to progress our community, and I know that jobs are important, but I feel like there's other locations because this is a prime location for a community that has been struggling with affordable housing, rental, the ability to rent, to own homes, education, working with the GED. This is literally down the street, and I just feel that we need to just give it a couple of more months or another opportunity to sit and have grants written. We have Margaret. Did we have Margaret last time? She did? Okay, well, and even with COVID.
But they have not received them
I'm
yet.
pretty sure that there's money in the American Rescue Plan or that will go towards upfitting or creating this program because it does create jobs, but we're doing it with the community members. That's all I'm saying.
But like you said, I was thinking that this plan was still on track and just got delayed because of COVID.
Right, I was too.
Because of COVID, and I know that Jeff Ruggieri and his department had grants lined up, but of course, COVID came in and delayed the process. So and then all of a sudden now we're talking about taking a different turn on this, which I feel that, Mark, you're telling us that there has been no meetings about this. This is the first time that you have gotten, that you wanted to. Oh, that's what Alderman Harris asked you earlier. Was there any meetings about this change in this project? And
Discussions with Dr. Stats and obviously with others. I mean, I've talked several times with them about the potential of utilizing the commercial kitchen for lots of different things. I think this concept, this use of the property, I think Dr. Stats, you've envisioned for quite a while now. I mean, he's a visionary. Excuse me.
Concept from our perspective is about 3 years old.
Could I ask a question? What exactly is the ask tonight? Is it number 6 on your plan? So number 6 is all you're asking for. So Mark, when you look at the scope of the original intent of the use of the building number 6, what has changed from the original intent of building number 6 to what's being asked for tonight by the college?
I think the original, and Amanda, you may want to come up and talk about the original exact language or verbiage that was in the actual EDA grant. But essentially, it was a commissary kitchen in its original vision, and that original vision was for prep space, prep location for potential entrepreneurship, food trucks, things like that. You want to add any more detail to that? Yeah.
Yes, I do believe, and off the top of my head, I believe that the original intent for this section of the scope of work of the project for the EDA was to open and facilitate a kitchen commissary space for food service and food truck entrepreneurs. So in the previous grants that we had written, workforce training and development courses were a part of that. Certainly, recently our staff has been speaking to, all of the hospitality and restaurants throughout New Bern and the region are struggling. So modeling after the success of the main trades building for filling those needs of the employers for those entry-level positions, but then also having the opportunity for entrepreneurs in the food service industry to have a place to incubate their businesses is the intent of the original EDA grant, which it is my understanding that and we've been working with the community college as well to try to figure out a way that we could still fulfill that full intent of that original vision by using the state or college funding that they have for equipment. And it's my understanding that the kitchen couldn't necessarily support for-profit entities. The small business center is still there for programming and things like that, but it couldn't fulfill the commissary piece for food trucks that may need to have deliveries or prep space for, to end up selling their products.
So you're saying that if it was created, they can go and prep and sell their products?
We would have to fund it through either grant or city funds.
If this was here, people would be able to go and prep their stuff and then sell it? Like what you were just saying, I just want to clarify that that's what you're saying.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it could be used in that capacity.
Awesome.
So that would be basically the main difference. And of course, as Mark has identified, we have not secured grant funding to date, but we have applied for one grant, and there are additional grant cycles that are open this spring. So, depending on the direction tonight, there are additional grants that we could write and finish. And then, of course, our goal would always be to have the community college presence there for, serve safe and, training and, especially now knowing the restrictions and the additional cleaning and safety measures that need to be taken, due to the pandemic and, the response that we're going to have for, into the future. I mean, that's very important. But as, our, hospitality and tourism industry is bouncing back, it's very important, to be able to help fill those jobs and then also, potentially, depending on, what you all choose, whether that pathway could then lead to somebody, having a space to then open up their own business right out of that same, kitchen. And generally what we have looked at before would be, that would be some kind of fee-based service. And, the relationship as far as who, would own or manage different pieces of it, is still to be determined.
Know how many grants you applied for this off the top of your head or no?
Off the top of my head, previously we had applied for the Tobacco Trust Foundation, which was unfunded, and then we have been working with the Cannon Foundation.
Okay.
That we're talking about tonight is a quote-unquote community kitchen that a food entrepreneur could go use and then turn around and sell whatever they're making, versus what the college is proposing is it's going to be more of a training facility where they would be training folks in-house. Is that essentially what we're talking about?
Correct. I would still see the space as a working lab. So, if the community college, leased the space and funded it with their equipment, then it would just strictly be workforce training. It wouldn't necessarily provide that commissary piece, which would be, a space for people to receive deliveries, have it inspected by the health department or, Department of Ag. If they were somebody that, made jams or jellies or something like that. The other goal would have it to be a health department inspected facility that a, food truck could use as a commissary.
Thank you. If I might, I would like to make one clarification, because there's been a discussion about the commissary versus entrepreneurship, and one we can do and one we can't. Entrepreneurship, the largest entrepreneur training operation in Craven County is our small business center. And so if the college is operating the kitchen during the phase an entrepreneur that is in training, that is while they're learning the business, while they're learning how to conduct a business, and that would include learning how to prep food, prepare food, that would all take place under the college's auspices. Where we would stop, where we are required to stop, is the moment they turn into a for-profit operation. We are prohibited by state board code from engaging in for-profit activities. So the entrepreneurship training would take place, but the sustainment of the new company, once they're on their feet and operating, we would be prohibited for doing that. So that's where that cutoff. So entrepreneurship, yes. Commissary, no, we could not do that piece.
That doesn't include the community college, and Amanda's talking about the entrepreneurship, is you've got to have someone that's going to manage that facility. You got to have someone that's going to manage the payment of the small businesses coming in and prepping their food. You got to manage the cleanliness of it, what they're going to be responsible for it, who's going to be responsible. Is it the manager, or is it somebody that's going to be with the management company? Is he going to contract it out? Is that included in the fee? That way you can meet the health requirements by the health department for the facility, because I can tell you that I wouldn't want to be an entrepreneur that comes in with my truck and then I prep stuff after somebody who was unsanitary, who prepped their stuff before me, now making all of my people that I'm selling to sick. So there's a lot that goes into the route if we go that way, because someone's going to have to manage all that. Now, is that going to be a city employee that the city's going to hire, or is that going to be somebody that the community college? I don't know if they want to be in that business or not.
Liability issues for us. Again, getting engaged in what we refer to as a live project becomes problematic for us.
We're seeking some nonprofit assistance with that. That fell through. So we have really tried hard, I think, as a city and the city staff, to try to make the vision work. At this point, this building is set idle for 2 years, unused. We haven't, and still yet, if we still go our route, we still got to either find grant funds for the equipment to upfit this location, or we're going to have to spend city funds to do it. Amanda, what was the last quote for all the equipment needs that was necessary for us to run a commissary kitchen?
The total equipment and installation probably would be around $200,000 total.
So if the board's willing to, commit $200,000 towards us spending money to equip this thing, which the community college has offered to do at their cost to offer the programs, that's deferred cost that we're not going to have to worry about, that they've got ready to go to start offering the program. So I'm here presenting a vision, an alternative vision to the vision that we're already working on and continue to work on until the board directs us to move otherwise.
Thoughts is that, especially the fact that it's only $200,000, we funded many projects, we've done many things, and it's the responsibility of the city to create opportunities. I feel that if we move forward with the city's idea, we create entrepreneur services and resources, we should still be able to partner with the college if this is something that they want to do for 2 or 3 days to utilize the facility to have those trainings. I feel if we are able to establish the marketplace and have this ability for people to sell things and make income, we're also creating jobs through the city for someone to be able to manage and make sure that it's clean for the inspections and to be able to prep their food. So I feel like, again, there is an opportunity for the city to fulfill the vision that it originally had. Again, I know there's politics, there's been politics involved. There was issues with the grant. We lost that grant for whatever reasons. But I feel now that we're moving forward, we need to bring everybody back to the table and see if we can and meet and agree. I know that you are instructed by all 7 of us. You're just doing your job. I'm just one of them with 1 vote to just speak, and I'm speaking for communities, and I'm speaking for entrepreneurships that want to make money. And so if there's still a relationship or the main goal is hospitality, it's created both ways, then we should still be able to partner with the college and still have training and education and create jobs through the city and still be successful in this project. Thank you.
I want to ask you a question. One thing I want to ask you that's very important is statewide workforce development. Tell the public what is really happening in the state versus this city, and because of the partnership and the spirit of cooperation and the energy that has been shown thus far. Tell us what's happening with some of the other workforce developments.
Estimates. I'm very proud of our college in that we are one of perhaps a plurality, I'm not sure what the percentage is, that is not facing a layoff this year. And one of the reasons is our enrollment did not collapse. And where it collapsed in other colleges is in workforce development. They largely shuttered because so much of it is in-person instruction in tight spaces. Because we had the Volt Center, we were able to spread out and continue teaching. Our current estimate is we're going to go up in our workforce development numbers this year during a pandemic by a little more than 5%. We are one of 11 out of the 58 colleges in the state that have a positive number.
And some
and that
of
is
them are declining.
offset. And what, about 30% of our workforce now is sitting at the Volt Center in terms of our production. That single set of buildings has sustained us through the pandemic.
But some of the other community colleges that have them are actually, the workforce development program is declining. Is that correct?
There are colleges that have seen 70% of the workforce development FTE disappear this year because they did not have the space to conduct their classes in accordance with the spacing requirements that were necessary.
And one other thing while we have you, while we're trying, and this is a little off subject, but it all is for the good of our citizens. I know that we're very much concerned about connectivity, the ability to get to the college. And, you know, is there anywhere in the state of North Carolina that has a partnership with the regional airport, the regional hospital, the community college, the school system? Because the CARTS program, you know, is what it is, and we've tried to figure out, but, you know, I mean, if we could come up with some form of all of us pitching in for a public transportation system that maybe there's a course that a student needs at the main campus, and 3/4 of them are at workforce development. Have any of your colleagues been able to figure out public transportation?
I think James Sprunt may have figured that out a few years ago. We've not looked real closely at their program, but I understand that they, because of the rural nature of Duplin County, that they've put something together. And we are always looking for partnerships. So if there's an answer out there we haven't found, I got my win-win guy right behind me here. We'll go out and find it.
I mean, is there a partnership with East Carolina or somebody that we could get a couple of grad students to come in and come up with a visionary idea of some means of all of us come to the table and making some public transportation happen?
I'd love to.
So that there are students out there that just absolutely, it's too far away to walk, and that if the public transportation was there, that, you know, it would increase enrollment.
Yep. Anything's possible.
Thank you.
I'd like to make, and just, to me, action and results are everything. And the action and the results that I see from the community college and what they've done with the Volt Center, I never dreamed the success would be what it is, and seeing these different companies coming in and hiring these students and people getting jobs, and the training that we need in the trades. We talked about the trades for so long, and now we have the training. This is another segment of our population here that needs the training, and that we have varied, restaurants and chain restaurants and everything from A to Z in our city, and I think it's important. Hospitality is the #2 industry in Craven County, so it employs more people than it's the number 2 industry. So I think it's important that we have a great training program to go behind that industry in all areas, beyond restaurants, but good customer service and things that we need in this tourism/hospitality area that we need. I think the college is poised, they're ready, the proof is in the pudding, they've done a good job, they've got the money, and we've been about partnerships. We can make things happen through partnerships. I think this is good partnership, and I'd like to see us go forward. So, Mayor, do you have a question? Because I wanted to...
I have a question for you. With changing the program, with the group of people that are looking to do something better, with your hands tied one way with the state, how do you feel? Do we need to leave them out and not help them or do anything about that? You're smarter than I am. You know how to do this here
I'm
better.
not sure I understood the question. I'm trying to read your lips. I'm a little hard of hearing, so I'm sorry.
The group, we're making a change here.
Sure.
Right? Because you have the money and you got the kitchen. But on this side here, these guys want to come in with a food truck to prepare and service their food. But they're not going to get this opportunity now. Where are you at, and how could we make it work to help them as well?
Sure.
As we're saying, we're looking at partnership.
Sure. Well,
But
I think what you're looking at right now is where we're at today with an empty building is a 0% solution. I think the college is poised to provide 85 to 90% of your original goal. Our limitation is sustaining a new small business. So we have the ability to train new restaurant workers, which would include entrepreneurs. We have the synergy with the Small Business Center, which is designed to do just exactly that. We are allowed to do food production when it's for training purposes. For example, our cosmetology and our barbering programs, they do provide services, but only in the context of a training program. As soon as they leave us and stop being trained by us, we no longer allow a professional barber, for example, to continue cutting hair at the college because it's now a for-profit activity. So we do leave them behind, but by that point, hopefully, that new barber is now on his or her feet and is now sustaining a business that we help them create. And that would be the parallel here, is we would be working with food truck entrepreneurs or any other type of hospitality entrepreneurs, but where we would stop is when they finally got their legs under them and they're prepared to run their own kitchen and their own resources. That's when we have to pull away because now they're a for-profit activity. So, no, we would not have an in-community commissary, which I know is part of your vision. That is the piece we would leave off. But I think in the broader vision, we'd end up further ahead because you would not end up with entrepreneurs permanently dependent upon the college or that site to conduct their business. We would be training them and helping them to become independent operators, teaching them how to find their own resources and create their own businesses that are not dependent on any grant or any government assistance down the road. They would become true small businessmen and women.
And are you able to accomplish that by us creating the vision that we had and teaching 2 to 3 days during the week if we create the facility?
There are some limitations. For example, if it's equipment owned by somebody else and it's under a different set of safety rules, our safety rules are a little different from a for-profit safety rule. For example, we don't have the same safety requirements for food that we plan to throw away because it was for training purposes only. When it goes into resale, you go into a whole different business.
Okay.
So there would be some gaps. It's not to say that a partnership isn't possible, and quite frankly, we were on board 4 years ago with the original concept, and we modeled our participation in a very different way. But the college's scope would be much more limited because in this case, the city would be the lead for that facility and we would be a trailing sponsor. What we're proposing is the college be the lead and others be our partners.
I understand, and again, I'm all about education, I'm all about trade. I just feel like the first vision that we have, because of the issues that were caused with the grant that we all are aware of, I feel we didn't get an opportunity or we didn't allow development services to have a proper opportunity to do what they needed to do to benefit the community, the Duffyfield community. And the other thing that I'm just slightly confused on and why we weren't provided this ahead of time, because if you look at the summary, it says that you want the whole facility and you would want a lease until June of 2032. So this is the first, and then you're gonna come back, or we're gonna get presentations to come back to have the whole facility. And I think that's great, but I feel like there's other locations, if we need to partner, if we have other buildings for this, but I feel we need to have this location as the marketplace. We need a second farmer's market. Individuals need to be the ability to create their products and be able to sell it just like they do at the farmer's market. And we have entrepreneurs, and I feel we need to make sure that we're not leaving entrepreneurs who become small business owners out of any idea or vision that we have with growth within that community and the city holistically.
Mr. Stevens, what action are we actually need to take tonight? What are you looking for?
For the board to give staff some direction, stay the course, which is we'll continue to try to seek grants, which we've been unsuccessful at thus far, and continue down the path of the original EDA scope of work, or we go with the amended scope of work, very similar in nature, but again, as Dr. Stats very eloquently detailed in quick summary, is it was the city being the lead and they were on board as a partner. This is the community college taking the lead as part of the campus, and then us allowing the facilitation of the use of the facility. Still yet, if we go the other option, we still got to seek grants. We've got $200,000 worth of equipment we need to find, so forth and so on. So we're looking the direction this way or this way.
Dr. Stats, how quickly, if we give the approval, how quickly would you be able to get started on this project?
I believe we'd probably be up and running by late summer. Our big limitation is we're coming up on the end of a fiscal year, and we're not allowed to cross. So any equipment that cannot arrive before June 30th, we can't order, but then on July 1st, we start again. But the funding is in good shape. So, deliveries are 2 to 3 months. I use the law enforcement simulator as an example. We ordered the equipment in October. It was in place in February. We are operating in March. So I would expect the August, September operations, we would have our first courses underway.
Okay. So you're looking,
Sound about right?
Out of a healthy fund to be able to fund this project for development services, if they already have the plan? That's what I'm confused on. We funded other things. We have $200,000 to fund the program. We have to support our staff in the vision. So we have the money and we have the ability to do it, but we want to get grants when it comes to the city because we don't want to spend money, but we have a good fund balance. We're going to sit here and listen to the finance director on different projects that we want funded, and we're going to go and get a loan and do installment payments on it. Why can't we do that for this project in this community so that it can benefit entrepreneurs? I'm not trying to be hard. I just want you to understand the passion that there are entrepreneurs within the city of New Bern, within this community, that this plan says, the greater 5 points, that neighborhood that it was set on. So why can't we allocate $200,000 tonight as a direction to go ahead and take care of the ordering of the equipment? I don't understand why we can't do it ourselves.
Entrepreneurs be, because he said the Small Business Center works with entrepreneurs. I'm confused.
Prep their food and sell the food. That was the whole vision of a market, is to be able to prep it and sell it. And if the education aspect of
All right,
it.
but beyond the $200,000, then we still have to pay somebody to run it, maintain
we're
it,
creating a
operate it.
job. Right, we're creating jobs. We're creating jobs through the city. That's important, is creating jobs that's within that community
Understood,
or through the
but
city.
that was additional cost in this kitchen space, in the same space? No, at the Volt Center.
But if
Yeah.
you're renting it, you're also, the plan was there. If we're renting the spaces, we're making money that's probably going to cover the ability to house the employee. There was a plan in place, the grant was an issue, we have the funds, it's $200,000 to start it. I don't understand why we as a city, as a board, can't stand behind this community in this project that they've worked on and do it. I understand partnerships, I have no problem with partnerships. There's a whole list of other ideas that the college would like to utilize, but this kitchen is very important. This aspect, the market, is very important for what we're going to do. And again, Corey Purdy was at the table with the Catalyst Kitchen. They're still working on it on Broad Street, and there's individuals on Broad Street that have a benefit to be able to utilize this. There's food trucks. I can name about 5 food trucks where they can utilize this facility and will be willing to pay for it. So it's like, we can't forget about entrepreneurs. That's all I'm saying.
Amanda, can you come back up, please? So if the city is willing to allocate $200,000 for the program that I initially thought was still in place, but just was put on the back burner because of COVID, if you had $200,000, how soon do you feel that we as a city could get the program up and running, considering your department, you already have the tools and you have the tools and the resources in place, y'all work diligently on this project. So what would it take? What kind of problems do you foresee with this coming to fruition?
I mean, it would be, as was mentioned, the $200,000 is basically the capital expense for the equipment, and then there would need to be staff, probably part-time staff, to oversee scheduling and managing the kitchen, potentially contract staff or something to come in and clean the kitchen. I've managed a commercial kitchen for a municipality before, so, I certainly understand, having different caterers or groups coming in, that you need to always have that baseline of cleanliness for the next person to come in. So there would be inspections and staff that would be needed for that.
So you feel that your department y'all can handle that project?
We would need support for additional staff,
Okay.
to be the point of contact for, individuals to contact. We also do have a good lead on a potential $75,000 grant for capital expense. And then, of course, we would still want to work out the details of how to collaborate and partner with the community college to offer the workforce training piece.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
there would certainly be an ongoing maintenance cost to the commercial kitchen equipment, as well as cleaning and then staffing for kind of overall scheduling and management of the program itself.
Which could all be funded through grants funding.
Think we're able to be able to cover some of that cost because you're going to rent it, there's going to be fees, it eventually will pay for itself?
I mean, the goal would be to have it be self-supporting. However, that is probably unlikely for, the first many years. And then at a certain point, you would have more cost to, maintain, equipment that may need to be replaced after a certain period of time. So, the goal would always, you would want it to be self-supporting, but I don't know that that would be fully realized. Oftentimes, it would have to be supplemented by city funds or grant funds or, some other partnership entity to manage that.
I just wanted to ask the city manager, are you looking for a motion or a suggestion or giving you direction or what?
I'm going to tell you how I'm going to take this, okay? If we don't come to a conclusion where they say, Mark, go this way, we're going to continue to go down the path that we've always been going.
So then,
If you say, Mark, go with the community college, I'm going to go with the community college,
Okay.
and that's a change of direction.
then I would like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we authorize the city manager to work with the Craven Community College to form an agreement. It would be for lease as well, correct, Mark?
That's correct.
For lease of building number 6 for a commercial kitchen.
Before we second that, can I ask a question? Considering you're talking about going into a lease agreement, with that, if somewhere down the line that we feel that we want to bring this program in there, will it hinder us from bringing it in? I know we're supposed to be partnering with each other. Would that cause a problem? Dr. Stacks?
Wasn't sure whether we're asking myself. I'm sorry.
A lease is just like we're doing with the Volt Center, with the trades building. As the conditions evolve, things can be renegotiated.
Okay.
And in terms of a commissary, the state board code is not likely to change. We cannot engage in a for-profit activity. So that would be our prohibition.
They're not going to move the equipment out.
Exactly.
I feel like we're rushing, and I feel we need to give them an opportunity. They can't even purchase it until July, so why can't we give Development and Services the ability to July to see what we can come up with. But again, why can we not fund the project ourselves?
Well, let
Why
me,
can't the college come into our facility and teach 2 to 3 days out of the week? We're creating a job. We're creating jobs. We have an expert that has worked with the municipality.
Community college and the Volt Center has proven that they've created jobs. And I think establishing this commercial kitchen and the training they're prepared to give, we've all watched on television this week where several of the restaurants in Carteret County are having to close to business and because they have no staff, no one trained to work there. I'm sure that's the case here as well. So,
Restaurants already that have had to close at least one day a week.
so I think you're talking about creating jobs. I think that's what he's going to do. I think that's what the Volt Center is going to do with this commercial kitchen is create jobs and hopefully create jobs as quickly as possible.
I hear you, and I know we have to make this, but can we also have the realization that there may not be any jobs or people wanting to work right now because of COVID and their beliefs of whether they want to work in hospitality or not?
Well, and I
You can
agree that
create jobs
COVID has created some issues, but I think a lot of that issue is because they're making so much money on unemployment, they don't want to go to work for number one, some of them, not everybody. But the other issue is that some people want to work. Some people want the training. Some people there's going to be people out there that's going to jump at this training opportunity. And I think it's necessary that we move forward with it as quickly as possible. And hopefully that the community college can get it up and running sooner than later.
But they have a program already for hospitality at the college. So this is an extension. We don't have anything for entrepreneurs. We don't have anything or a place for them to go and be able to prep their food and sell their stuff. So there's no partnership if the community can't go here and have a market center, a marketplace. So I feel like we're doing the community that this represents, 5 Points, a disservice, because if you're in that community and you've looked and you've been to Broad Street, there are over 10 people that deal with food. There's some that have food trucks that can utilize this, and there still could be an educational aspect to it, and we're still creating a job. So we still have an opportunity to fund this if the city steps up and puts our money where our mouth is when it comes to creating jobs, creating entrepreneurs and opportunities.
Motion.
We now have a second to the motion. Is there further discussion about the motion? Madam Clerk, excuse me, would you call the roll, starting with Alderman Odom?
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Alderman Best.
I am all in favor of Craven Community College. They have done an excellent job thus far, and I'm quite sure they will continue to do an excellent job. But I just feel that we are doing our citizens within Ward 1, 2, and 5 a great disservice by not allowing at that Volt Center a farmer's market in place, entrepreneurship in place, and all of the other programs that went along with our first initial plan. So with that being said, I just feel like this is something that I feel that we should have had some additional meetings on before we have come here tonight and received the presentation, and now we're put in a position that we feel that we need to vote on. And I'm all for the college and all that the jobs it creates and opportunities it gives our citizens, but I'm just going to have to say no.
Alderman Kinsey.
They changed the game. My answer is no.
Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris. No. Alderman Bingle. Yes. Motion carries. Yes, sir.
Do it real quick. Watch that.
Your candor, and thank you for your support tonight, and we will do our very level best to make good on your trust. Thank you.
regarding The federal government has issued out some guidance, and we want to try to convey that to the board as best we can, even though it's not quite clear yet. But we're going to try to convey all the different options that this American Rescue Plan funding covers. And we just have a very, very, very small portion of that. But the city is scheduled to receive approximately $6.5 million total, 3.2 coming by way of us in May. And, you know, obviously, we hope that happens, and we'll wait until we see that happen. But we want to start getting ahead of that and start planning. So we've asked Ms. Hogan to present to y'all tonight a little bit about the American Rescue Plan funding and how it can be utilized by the city.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. So, the American Rescue Act is actually a blessing. I think this is some good news for our city and for our citizens, and I'm very happy that we get an opportunity to benefit from this. This is the act. It's quite the document. I did not include it in your packets, but if anyone would like it, you're welcome to it. It's very comprehensive. It covers many areas. I think the initial intent was to help offset some of the to rescue America from some of the ill effects of the COVID pandemic. It has, of course, along the way gathered some other types of benefits that it's also going to be rescuing. And so we've got a few different opportunities here that we are afforded. It's about a $1.8 trillion total that the Congress has currently approved to be paid out. The bill went through pretty quickly initially. The pieces that you're going to note about just by seeing the news would be the last stimulus check, they called it. The bill passed pretty quickly, and the stimulus checks have already gone out for the most part. The other thing that we've heard about that was included in this bill was the extension of the unemployment benefits. At one point, it had been $600 a week. I think it then stopped altogether, and now they've reinstituted that up to $300 per week. So those are just some of the more public pieces of this bill that you've heard about. There's many sections to this bill, and I'm going to run through several of them just kind of quickly so you can see that there's money being authorized to spend in many industries across this country for many purposes, and local government aid is just one small piece of the bill, but just so you kind of have an idea of all the issues that they have considered, and these are just a summary, but Title I talks about Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition and Forestry, nutrition, the extension of the EBT programs. You can see this Farmers of Color, International Food Aid, lots of options there for those folks needing support. There will be money for them, not part of our money, but there's actually additional monies for these. Title II, same kind of things, healthcare workers, K through 12, school stuff, Head Start, some really interesting good things going on there. Title III this has to do with housing, emergency assistance for housing, mortgage, utility assistance, public transportation. Those are types of things that are being covered by this bill. Title IV, FEMA grant programs, that are going to affect us in a roundabout way, I suppose. And then some of the COVID relief funding, workforce protection fundings. Title V, more grants, restaurants. This is an interesting one, too, that I think some of our local businesses will have the opportunity to partake in. It's the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program. So for businesses that actually went out of business during COVID, there will be funding available for them. Title VI, Economic Development, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Title VII, this is broadband. This is a big one that we'll talk a little bit about, but also airports, aviation, consumer product safety, just a few of those under Title VII. Title VIII, veterans. And Title IX, this is where we come in. This is this is the part that affects us. There's one line there that says state and local fiscal aid, so I'm going to drill down into that one line. But you'll see other things here in the Committee on Finance. The first one is those direct payments, so what people are calling the stimulus payments. And then the second one, of course, is the unemployment insurance extension that I mentioned. There's also health care support, sick leave credit, employee retention credit. So there's so many things that this money will be covering besides just the state and local fiscal aid that we'll be eligible for. I will say it's the first time in history that the federal government has agreed to make a direct grant or a direct payment to local governments and cities. Typically, it wouldn't come straight to us the way it will in this manner, and that's actually a kind of a big moment in our country, and for local government finance directors as well to actually get money from the federal government directly without having to jump through some other hoops, so that's actually a good thing for us. We are expected, as Mark said, currently to get about $6.5 million. They'll be giving us about 50% of that in May, so about 5 to 6 weeks from now. And the other half will get a year from May, in May of 2022. We have until December 31st of 2024 to spend it. So we've got some time to think through how we want to spend this money and how it could best benefit the city and the citizens. Our money really is intended to, I think the intent, if you read through this, is really intended to help bring the city itself whole, the city government's operations whole from any, basically from any downsides that may have occurred during the COVID period that's continuing to go on. There's 3 or 4 primary uses that they're talking about. I'm drilling down now into the state and local government fiscal aid. There's just a couple of pages of wording about it, but the 4 areas, coronavirus, I'm going to read these to you so it's clear. These are the 4 areas that we actually have the ability to spend money and will be authorized to participate in activities that meet these criteria. Coronavirus response and relief. These funds are similar to and no more restrictive than previous appropriations provided through the CARES Act. So it's similar types of activities as the CARES Act. Number 2, higher wages for public employees, up to $13 per hour above regular wages. So they are recommending, or that they are allowing, that if you have had employees who have been required to come to work, there's been no furloughs or any closing down of the services that they all are eligible. You may, as a city, choose to give them some additional salaries for their efforts. Replacement revenue. This was not part of the original CARES Act, so this is actually a new one for us. Cities and towns are allowed to make up for lost revenue due to the COVID-19 emergency, so that's kind of a big deal for us. And then the final approved purpose for the money, investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure, and that's a huge one. That's actually not necessarily COVID related. That's one of those things that was added to the bill late on. At some point in the Congress decided they wanted to make some infrastructure improvements, and that got added to this bill. I don't believe that we can blame any of our old aging sewer lines on COVID, but we can certainly use this money to help repair those if we need to. All of these are very preliminary interpretations. They seem to be being used widespreadly throughout the country. Many cities, National League of Cities, our North Carolina League of Municipalities, these are what we're all circulating around as our current understanding of what's available and what we can use the money for. That could change. A letter just went on April 1st from the League of Municipalities and the National League of Cities. We just sent a pretty strongly worded letter to Congress saying, please get us the rest of the conditions that we need so that we can start making final decisions on how to use the money. Nothing's final yet. They're still tweaking it some, I would say, at the federal level, but we're watching it. We're doing webinars and kind of seminars on them at least once a week. I'm online doing something and hearing what the newest news is about it. So it's kind of exciting. It's going to be good for our city. We have talked to some department heads just to start getting a feel of what kind of needs there are out there. And of course, we'll get lots of input from you guys as well and decide what's going to be the best use of these funds. There's a couple of restrictions, actually just one kind of major restriction. It doesn't affect us too much at all, but it would affect the counties and the state. Actually, no, they just changed it. It does not affect the counties. It only affects the state at this point. Originally, it was going to be counties, but they got pulled out. State governments cannot use the funds towards pensions. So if we're going to fund our OPEB, we can't do that with this. Or they cannot offset revenue resulting from a tax cut. So if sometime in the middle of the year during COVID, the state had made a tax cut and then adjusted their budget appropriately, they can't go back and recoup those taxes with this money. So those are really the only 2 restrictions that have come out of this huge document. So far it seems like for state and local governments we're going to have quite a bit of opportunity here to make some really needed improvements and provide some good opportunities to our citizens. I'm not going to pretend that I can answer every single question about this act, but if there's anything that you want to ask, I'll certainly try, or I'll find out and answer for you. As I said, it's still a work in progress at the federal level, and we should hear something by May.
I mean, do you have a draft right now of the areas that you want to use the money?
I could start real quickly. I mean, I think that if we talk to Jordan, I don't know if Jordan's here, I bet we could probably spend twice that much money just on water sewer improvements if that was somewhere we wanted to go.
That'll be the board's decision to
Yes.
make. We as staff are looking at receiving the $6.5 million, where we will be, once we get a little more guidance, I think at the federal level, we'll want to approach the board on how you want to spend it.
Correct.
Because we can come up with a lot of different ways, I'm sure, but we don't even know, quite frankly, right now, whether it's going to be allowed or disallowed. So we do need to confirm that. I think we've got some small bits of guidance, but still yet, I mean, there's all kinds of caveats that they have in these particular funds, and whether it has to be tied to some COVID-related expense, and if so, what is that definition that it has to be tied to? I mean, I could argue a lot of things a long way down the line that tie it to COVID specifically, but whether or not that's an applicable use or not, I don't know. So I think there's still a lot of decisions that still need to be made at the federal level and guidance so that we can make decisions at the local level on how we spend it.
Mary, I've done a lot of research as well, and the four that she stated, COVID response, I know, again, even the businesses and the nonprofits, I feel like we should be able to set up another endowment like we did and have them facilitate it, whether it's 50 or 100,000 for the businesses and nonprofits. Higher wages, I feel the city of New Bern and all of its employees deserve a bonus. So you have those funds to be able to do that. When we're talking about replacement revenues, whatever revenues we did lose, we can replace. I think that's a benefit. And then the investment in the water sewer, I feel like the plan that we have on the 16th, we're trying to rectify that. So I don't feel like we should take these funds and put it towards that. I think we can dedicate that. Broadband is a good one.
Excellent.
Especially because we have a lot of locations we've seen with COVID, where a lot of communities across the city of New Bern have suffered because they didn't have good internet. You guys did a great job of bringing in that contract and being able to create, hopefully, another partner with better internet services. But even if you have the internet services, we still need hubs for these children to get educated if we still continue to have to do virtual learning or people working from home. And then my other thing that I was talking to Ms. Mary about in regards to how these funds would work, however it would work, is if we have these funds and they offset things that we were planning to do, that gives us funds available. I feel like we talk about affordable housing, and I know that there's a lot of different avenues. I know we have a lot of different partners. I feel the city has the ability with everybody at the table to create a housing repair grant using funds, whether it's general funds, whether it's from the plan here, the American Rescue Plan, or on funds from the 16th, to be able to allow homeowners and homeowners that may have rental properties that need repair, as long as they meet the criteria that the city creates. This is different than the CDBG, to allow for these individuals that are currently living in homes that are not up to par and need to be upfitted. We create this grant program for them because that's dealing with the housing issue now, and it's going to help the future. And we're still working on whether we are trying to do housing bonds, which will deal with things in the future, but there's people suffering now. And I feel like if we have this money, there's got to be some type of program that we can put together with everybody at the table. I've talked to Mike from Habitat. I've talked to Mary. She feels it's possible in regards to creating this type of program. We used to have one because people are suffering, and the stipulations with the CDBG is that you have to be a primary resident. If the city creates it, we have our own stipulations, and they're able to get these houses fixed.
So you're saying landlords then could use the
Right.
money if they rent the property?
Yes, but I'm sure legally we'll be able to create a program where it says if your house is getting repaired, you can't sell it for 10 or 15 years. Like, there's stipulations that we can do outside of dealing with CDBG funds. And I'm asking for you guys to think about it, or have a discussion, or have another meeting, and possibly put $500 to $1 million aside to do this program, because there's a lot of people in the city of New Bern and everywhere, all 6 wards that can benefit from this. And I feel like there's people, I mean, if you drive around and you go into these communities, people are still suffering that didn't have insurance from Florence. And there's no resources for them because they're in between, or it may be a rental house and they have someone renting in there. If we are true about affordable housing and creating these opportunities, this is something that we can do. And I know that we have the funds to do it. So I'm asking my board members to maybe have a meeting, Mary, Mike, Jeff, and Amanda, and anybody else that is interested, to talk about this and how we can create this, what I would call the city's housing repair grant, to help these individuals get these houses under control. We're hitting summer, and we're going to be back to winter. And I feel, this is something that we can do, and I feel the idea with these funds, we owe it to our employees. They deserve a bonus. I think there's so many things that we can do. I feel that we got to put our heads together and do it, but I'm hoping that I can get the support of the board in regards to creating this grant program.
Mary, and maybe even Sonia or the city manager, I'm not sure who can answer this question. I was having conversations with a group of city employees on a job site, and one of them was telling me about a family member that was sick or had an accident or something like that, and I said, praise God for insurance, and he said, no, I don't have any insurance. I had to drop my insurance because I couldn't afford it. Are you aware of any of our employees that's had to drop their insurance because they couldn't afford it?
I would have to defer that to
Well, how about if I just say
I do
this?
not know.
That the employees have is at no cost to them.
Yeah, this was a family
So-
member, though. If you would, just check in that for me, and see if that's the case. I'd hate to know that that's the case.
I think what I would advise
But
you
I was
is
just wondering maybe if somebody
get with
could-
Sonia at the end of our meeting here, and then maybe you can give her the name of the person you were talking about, and then she can kind of investigate it a little bit.
I don't know as if this money could be used to help some
Right.
employees with health insurance or not. Don't have a clue. You went through it so fast, I was lost. I mean, I was still on page 1 when you were on 14. So I'm looking forward to some guidance on this. And
I am too, Mark. I want to see what you come back with, and, here's this pool of money, and at least then we can give you direction back based on some of these ideas, and, let us debate them. I think it's a good idea. I think the devil's in the details, just like when we wrote you saw the details trying to do for the nonprofits, figuring out all the little ins and outs and
Right.
how you give the money, who can qualify, who doesn't qualify, what you have to present, all of those things. So that would be the hard part.
So I'm just asking if you guys are in favor or think that it's a good idea, who's willing to come, because we can only have 3, come to the table and kind of get these details together, and then so we can come and present to the board a full understanding and presentation for you to vote on whether we're going to put money aside wherever we decide to take it from to create this housing repair grant program.
I guess we need direction to make sure, I don't want to spend time and effort and then find out it has to be one way or the other. So that's my only, if we want to say, okay, we want to earmark, $500,000, $1 million to home repair, and just wait and get details, then go in to come back and do something and put it before the board with some other ideas. I mean, I could sit here and look over to Alderman Best and know she's going to say more money for drainage, more money for, getting water out of people's neighborhoods, because that's what her passion is. It's important to her and her neighborhood. Mine runs the gamut of housing. You're absolutely correct. And just trying to better some of these neighborhoods, sidewalks, parks, different things like that. I don't know that we
don't necessarily
can.
have to use that money. I'm saying even us take from whatever general fund we have to create this program.
Mr. Attorney?
There are programs where we can provide low-interest loans to low-income residents.
Yeah, I knew we could do loans. We've done that in the past with some programs years ago. But I don't think that we can give taxpayer dollars to a private citizen to put a roof on his house, can we?
As a general rule, no, but there may be some low-income exceptions that I just haven't researched.
Based on, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The devil's in the details, and we just need to figure that out, but.
Alderman Harris, about housing rehab for our citizens. But again, too, we need the more details of how we can, spend these funds. And also, I think these 4 subtopics here for the use of those funds are ideal. I agree with all of them. But we just need more details from the American Rescue Plan. I know Mary does.
Well, they just allotted $5 billion. HUD just announced that too, that happened today, that they have that money available for housing and services for people experiencing or might be at risk of homelessness, and that's what some of these things are. Through the American Rescue Plan. Yeah. So all I'm saying is, even though we have to figure out where the funding is, I know we're going to find it, but I want to take the time to figure out how we can do it so that when the funding is available, it's already in play. So that's what I'm asking. Am I wasting my time with the idea, or people supporting, because this is a part of affordable housing? And if the city is big on affordable housing, we have to help the individuals that already have housing or landlords that have housing to get them up to par to be able to, everybody deserves to live in a home without a leaky roof. And we can fix the sewer and the drainage, but if you're still living in a house that is not livable, it defeats the purpose. So you have to do everything together. It's all working pieces. So that's all I'm asking is, who was interested? We're still going to work on it regardless if it's from the city or not, but I'm hoping that the city could be a partner in trying to do this for repairs on homes.
Anybody else on that item? Let's go to item number 10.
Okay, thank you.
Requesting that the North Carolina Department of Transportation repave Simmons Street. The condition of Simmons Street, particularly between Dr. MLK Boulevard and Noose Boulevard, is poor and in need of resurfacing. The area between Trent Boulevard and Dr. MLK is also in need of attention, though its condition is not as poorly deteriorated. The city is owned, the street is owned and maintained by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And a proposed resolution before you tonight requests that NCDOT mill and repave that. Of note, the portion of Simmons Street that connects Noose Boulevard to Oaks Road was repaved by NCDOT a couple of years ago. I will add also, when this item came before the staff and for the agenda, at the request of the mayor and Alderman Best, for y'all to consider, Jordan did reach out to me once he saw that and indicated that he does have some pretty significant sewer replacement, is that correct? Along Simmons Street during those sections. So if we do that, we would obviously want this to happen as a condition of us fixing that sewer first, which he's going to help probably move that forward. But ultimately, doesn't hurt the fact that it's still, the condition of the road is deteriorating and needs to be resurfaced. So I have no problem with us, if the board wishes to move forward, send this on to NCDOT.
To make a motion to, I didn't see in here, Highway 55 West, even though I know that that's not a city-maintained road, but it is in dire need, and I keep on asking all the time about Highway 55 West, and hopefully this year, DOT will be able to pave that highway. But I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution requesting the NC Department of Transportation repay Simmons Street.
Motion and second. Is there further discussion?
You know, I'm all about paving Simmons Street. I think the chances of us getting it paved probably anytime soon is slim. Maybe Mr. Odom can enlighten us on that a little bit, but the thing that makes me sick every day when I drive through James City and see all these businesses being torn down for some super highway going through there, when they could take all that money they're using to tear up these businesses and stuff and pave a bunch of streets throughout North Carolina. I mean, it just makes me sick to see all these businesses. James City is going to be a ghost town here shortly. That's my comment.
Alderman Astor,
It just makes me
100%.
sick to see it
Hard for
happening.
people living on that side of the river, too.
It's just terrible, you know?
But you know, the state will be receiving a whole lot of money from the American Rescue Plan too, so hopefully they'll be able to,
Well, that's a good point.
That's true.
to repair some of these roads, and, which is in dire need.
It'd make me happy if they stopped the paving out there to work right away. Yeah.
Did I get a second? Yeah, second. Okay, all right. Potholes everywhere.
Shouldn't have said that.
That's cool. At this time, we'll have a roll call, starting with Alderman Bingle.
Alderman Bingle?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris?
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey?
Yes.
Alderman Best? Alderman Odom?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 11.
Approving a sewer use agreement for 3412 Old Airport Road. Barbara Fulcher, owner of the property, has requested to connect to the city's sewer system. The property is an existing single-wide resident currently outside of the city limits. Residents will have a calculated daily sewer consumption of 360 gallons per day, which would require a standard sewer service connection. Section 7474 of the city's ordinances provides that a written sewer use agreement be entered into outlining the roles and responsibilities of both parties in establishing this service. Mr. Hughes has included a memo, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Board have questions?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we consider adopting a sewer use agreement with 3412 Old Airport Road.
Motion and second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Odom.
Alderman Odom?
Yes.
Alderman Best? Yes. Alderman Kinsey?
Yes.
Mayor Outlaw?
Yes.
Alderman Astor?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harris? Alderman Bingle?
Motion carries. Item number 12.
Resolution to initiate the upset bid process for 125 Hillmont Road. Derek and Natalie Jeanette have submitted an offer of $7,500 to purchase a vacant, nearly half-acre lot at 125 Hillmont Road. Tax value on the property is $15,000. This offer does represent 50% of the value. The property was acquired by the city and the county in May of 2019 due to tax foreclosure. The unpaid taxes at the time were $6,349.65. If this property is sold for the initial bid, the city is projected to receive $3,244.62 of that. The county receives $4,255.28. Mr. and Mrs. Jeanette live near the subject property and simply seek to enlarge their outdoor space. It is not contiguous, but is very nearby to the property that they own. There's a memo included in your packet from Ms. Blanco. Happy to answer any questions.
Does the board have questions?
I have a concern. I did some research. I don't know if we can put the map up on the screen there, but if you look at this, in the green is where they're asking to purchase. Their home is 2 lots over, so not the next one, not the thin sliver, it's the one down. Can everybody follow that? Coming this way. Yeah, excuse me, it's right here, but they're asking to buy that piece up there, and they said they wanted to use it for additional outdoor space. So I don't understand why they wouldn't buy the one that is closest to them, and it's less money. The tax value is less money, it's more contiguous to their property because the tax value on parcel 135, or the address 135, is $13,500. So I happened to go on GIS today because I was trying to familiarize myself, because when I looked at this map, I thought, why are they buying something that far away from their property? So I have some concerns. Yeah, they're not.
I can address that.
Okay.
Mr. Jeanette has a business, and he has a lot of equipment. So I'm quite sure he's using that additional space to store his vehicles and equipment. And I'm looking at this from a perspective of this parcel sitting there is all grown up. At least he will, I know that he will keep that lot clean. And when I say it's all grown up, that's a fact. I don't mind speaking it. It's
Well,
the
no, the
city-owned
picture's
property.
there, the picture's
Yeah,
there.
right. It's the city-owned property, and it's all grown up. And if we have a concerned citizen that wants to purchase a property adjacent to them, and they're going to keep that lot clean, and it's going to generate some tax revenue, and also the taxes will be paid on it, I'm all in favor of.
Zoning allow that?
Yeah, but the zone, that's what I was going to say, it's a residential lot.
Not going to be, but if
Yeah, I don't want him to waste money and then told he can't do something,
I'm
you know.
assuming that, he's going to be putting some of his items on that property, or, if he's going to purchase it, if you own the property, you can put whatever no, I mean, to a certain point, you can store materials and stuff on your property. If you want to put a storage building out there, you should be able to put a storage building, right?
Generally speaking, no, right? So that would be considered an accessory use in our zoning ordinance, and it wouldn't have to be attached to a primary use. My concern is what I've heard is that this lot is not contiguous with the lot he owns. So the lot
Right.
itself in a zoned residential area, and really a lot of zones in our code wouldn't allow for storage to be a primary use, right? So the only way to do it would be to attach it to his existing lot. It would be contiguous, and then we could essentially eliminate the lot line, so it would be one lot where you could allow some level of storage, but not for a business in a residential area. So there's a lot there. Generally, my answer, without knowing all the details, would be that would be a violation of the zoning ordinance, especially since it's a lot removed. That is unquestionable, that he would not be able to store any equipment on that property by itself.
Is it at a point right now where we can, I continue this, I can contact Mr. Jeanette tonight to
Sure.
see what his proposed purpose for that property is?
And maybe even buy the one that's closer. That's what I'm thinking, if he.
I
bought the
don't
one
know
that's
why
closer.
he's, because
Yeah.
when he and I talked, that was the one that he was supposed to be purchasing
Yeah.
right beside the easement there.
Yeah, that would not be, you can't store commercial vehicles in
Well, no.
residential zoned areas.
Don't take that 100%
Yeah.
correct from me, but I just assumed that, I'm quite sure he would be putting some of his equipment on it. I mean, if you got a lot there, a vacant lot there, but I can contact him
Sure.
to
Yeah,
see what is the proposed purpose he has for that piece of property.
In that next property, road, a street?
That's an easement.
An
That
easement.
strip there is an easement, so that person can get back to that next parcel behind him.
That's a flag, yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, they're using it as an easement.
yeah.
I would just suggest that you ask, contact Jeff and let Jeff
with him.
explain to him what he can and can't do there.
Okay.
That might be the best solution.
So do we want to put this to the next meeting?
Sure.
Instead of
Yes.
making a decision?
Be that you table this item to the next agenda contingent upon the owner's desire to continue to move forward with the
Yeah.
purchase of
Purchase.
this property.
Yeah.
If he wishes to continue to move forward with the purchase of the property, understanding the conditions of what he will be allowed to do, then at that point, it's his own, it's his money, he can spend it how he wants, and the board can consider selling it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and I thought it was a mistake at first until I went, and the offer to purchase is included, and it clearly states, because it's typed, it's not handwritten, 125 Hillmont Road, which is the lot in the middle. So that's why I brought it to everybody's attention.
We have a motion and a second on this item, and is there further discussion?
The motion was to table it, correct?
Correct.
Right,
Yep, I second that.
yeah.
We'll call it that.
We good? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. Let's go to the next item, number 13.
Item number 13 is a resolution approving additional street light on Kensington Park Drive. Ms. O'Neill, 3682 Noose Boulevard, has requested additional street lighting in the area of Kensington Park Drive. Staff evaluated this request and has determined that the area does not meet the city's light standard and has recommended 2 additional street lights in this location. The installation of the lights will cost $1,169.31 with a monthly charge of $16.88. There's a memo that's included in your packet along with supporting documentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Number 14 at the same time?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay. If there's no, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving additional streetlights on Kensington Park Drive and College Street.
Motion and second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Odom.
Alderman Odom.
Yes.
Alderman Vest.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey. Mayor Outlaw.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderwoman Harris.
Yes.
Alderman Bingle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, let's go to appointments, starting with Alderman Bingle.
None tonight, sir.
Okay, Alderwoman Harris.
Yes, there are appointments, but do you have,
do one of them, and I think I can do one of them, and the
I
mayor-
can't find it on here, the names. Do you have it? I don't
Gary
have the full
Lingman.
printout. Okay.
Gary Lingman.
Okay, I would like to appoint
Gary Lingman.
Gary Lingman back to the Fireman Museum. He has served his term and is wanting to serve another term.
Correct.
Well, you want to get a second? Let's just do them individually, or what?
I don't.
That
I
was,
second that.
yeah.
Okay, motion second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Motion carries. Alderman, do you have any more appointments? Go ahead, Alderman Astor.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to appoint David Pickens for his second term to the New Bern Firemen's Museum.
Motion and second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Motion carries, and I don't normally make a lot of motions, but I will make a motion on Bill Frederick to be reappointed to the board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Motion carries.
We're always excited about appointments.
Yeah. Yes, and so Alderman Kinsey, do you have any appointments tonight?
No, sir.
Okay, let's go to Alderman Bass
None.
and Alderman Odom.
No, sir.
Attorney's report. City manager's report.
2 things, more of reminders, but one will require the board to make a motion. Reminder that we have our work session from 9 a.m. to 12 noon this Friday to discuss potential bond financing of projects and capital improvement projects related to the presentation that you had from Davenport at our last Board of Aldermen meeting. The second item, I wanted to update you all, the renovations at City Hall courtroom have taken longer than we originally anticipated. We ran into some issues. Obviously, some of y'all have been made aware of that. All of y'all are aware of the hurricane-related damages that we've had, as you saw them on the walls and the ceilings there in City Hall. But once you get underneath that, you find things. It's usually like peeling an onion. You got to peel another layer. But we have made arrangements with Dr. Stats and his staff to stay here at the Craven Community College for an additional 2 more meetings if necessary, April the 27th and May the 11th. So if the board is amenable to that, we will need to make a motion to change the location for these dates. We already have the dates established, but we just need to change the location in that regard.
More meetings here. So moved.
Second, is there further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Business, starting with Alderman Odom.
I'm sorry, I have a question
Yes.
for Mark. Could you give us a FEMA update where we're at? Anything on the?
Which one? I know that Alderman Astor and I have had some very, very, I guess, detailed discussions all the way down to the line items with regards to the BP facility. So that one is progressing towards what appears to be a determination memo that's probably going to be issued. So we'll see what is in the determination memo and what it outlines and what reimbursements we may or may not be eligible for, and whether or not we're going to get continued in the 428 process in that. So, but Bobby, our consultant, I have all been involved in those meetings, and there's I guess a differing of opinions to some extent, so we'll see where that goes. I don't know if you want to add anything further than that. With regards to Stanley White Recreation Center, we are still awaiting the results of the analysis that is performed by FEMA with regards to our environmental assessment, and that's still kind of in their hands at this point. With regards to the stormwater projects, we've been updating y'all pretty regularly in our weekly reports. As all of those projects progress in their various states, there's about 10 of them, I think, 10 different A projects, 10 different D projects, all of those in various different statuses from that work is already almost complete to the point to where work hasn't even started and it still needs to be bid out. So we've had a lot of those projects that are in progress, which is great because FEMA has obligated the funds and have started to pay some of those back, which is good. With regards to that, I mean, we still have some various parks projects here and there that we've got to complete, this and that. We're starting to close out some of our projects, some of our reimbursements that have returned. I don't know, Alderman Astor, if you have anything additional you want to add, but that's kind of the current state. Still working on them, working hard, and it's definitely a long, tedious process. Takes years sometimes to get through everything.
The only thing I would add to that is today Mary shared with us some correspondence from FEMA where they were asking questions about the City Hall mitigation project. So that's, at least they're reading and looking at it now. So, but closeouts, I think, starts next week. Mary, is that correct? Closeouts should start next week, and that would be a good thing.
Not having all the details and all the money numbers right in front of me, but just kind of give you an update on the projects. That's kind of where most of them are, the big ones.
Okay. Anything else from the manager?
Nope, thank you.
New business with Alderman Odom,
Good night, sir.
Alderman Bass, Alderman Kinsey.
Nothing, sir.
I would like to welcome everybody out tonight under new business, but I would really particularly like to welcome former Assistant Manager, Public Works Director Danny Meadows back. He's been under the weather a little bit, and it's certainly nice to see you back out, buddy. Alderman Astor?
The only thing I would say is this your last meeting, Matt? Yeah, I think most of you know that we're losing our great Public Works Director, and he decided he wanted to go down to
Georgia.
for some reason or another. And Matt, you just don't understand how much we're going to miss you.
I'm sorry, but I want to give him a round of applause. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's done it. It's been incredible.
Done with his whole staff, the
Yeah,
whole staff.
he's
man.
definitely our go-to guy when it comes to Public Works. But you know what? We got George and we got Daryl
Yeah.
and some ones that we'll just have to start leaning on and turn them into a Matt. So, thank you
Graham,
for
too.
everything, Matt. Especially on Friday afternoon at 5:15 phone calls.
Anything else?
Nothing else, sir. Thank you.
Alderwoman Harris?
Yes, I'm so excited. We have sent out an email and we are starting the collaboration for the Juneteenth. We have a schedule up tentatively. If you are interested, you can go to Juneteenth of New Bern for partnerships, or you can contact Talina Massey. Our first meeting is going to be Friday at 6 p.m. on Zoom. You can get on the link. We have a whole week of celebrations planned. It's going to be exciting for everybody. So if you're interested and you want to get into planning and be a part about Juneteenth or learn about Juneteenth or help out in any way, please get in contact with me or Talina Massey or inbox the Facebook page, which is Juneteenth of New Bern. We're excited. We can't wait for everybody to come and celebrate Juneteenth. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Bless you.
Alderman Bingham?
We want to welcome back cafe outside dining downtown. It started this past weekend, and it was good to see everybody out in the streets. It's been busy. It's just nice to see people back on our sidewalks. But again, we are having some issues with restaurants not having enough staff, so not all restaurants were out on the streets. Hopefully, as the season progresses, it will get better and better. With that being said, we are working with the Chamber of Commerce and our good friend Smoke from the Flame, who is the chair of the chamber this year. And he is calling a meeting on April 21st at 2 p.m. at the chamber for all restaurant owners to gather to form a restaurant council so we can talk about the issues that we have as restaurants with not only employees, but, you know, it's a supply chain effect. So it was funny, but 2 restaurants yesterday couldn't open for lunch because their trucks didn't come in with supplies because they had such a busy weekend, didn't have inventory, and it's because there's shortages on that side of people delivering. And it's just, it's really a vicious cycle. So we're going to be talking about that. If you own a restaurant and you're interested, this is open to restaurant owners across our city and trying to bring solutions to the table. So I invite everybody to come on out. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, at this time, do we need a closed session tonight? Is there any other business to come before the New Bern Board of Aldermen at this time?
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.